Hey everybody, welcome back. Hey, question for you. Do you leave your Plex server just running all the time for your friends and family to access? So I did it for at first, and then I realized maybe there's a better way for that. What I have for my current Plex server is just a simple Dell Optiplex machine, and what I did is fire up a quick just check to see how much power it's actually using. I mean, I could plug in something to check that, but on average, my Optiplex 390 here uses a little bit over 100 kilowatt hours per month. So that's not obviously not ideal. It's not something that anyone should be doing, is just leaving their machines that are not being used 100% of the time always running. Just so in my example here, again, it's a Dell Optiplex. According to these figures that we found on ChatGPT, it says it uses about 100, just over 100 kilowatts per month if it was running 24/7. Right. So my current power bill, uh, or rates, I should say, this is the current rate per kilowatt hour. It's 0.079. So let's just say, for the lack of, an average machine, of course, there's going to be less and more efficient machines in this. If we multiply that by, let's just say 100 for 100 kilowatt hours, we're going to get 798. So basically $8 a month to leave your Plex server running constantly. So again, just wanted to find a better way to do this, and so that's what brought me to the solution that I wanted to show you and go over. So let's just jump into this right away and hopefully just go through this quickly for y'all. So back here we have just what I found as a shared remote start. So with it being a Plex server, it's not something you can just go turn on every time with your finger. You want it to be able to be something that you can share with other people. They can turn it on from wherever they are to be able to access your media, right? So the trick here is something that they can all access and turn on. So these are kind of the requirements that we'll be going over quickly of what it is that you need in order to get this working. First of all, we need your device or your server needs to be able to turn on or boot up just by connecting power to it. So we'll go over that, and the next thing is we need a smart plug that is compatible with the service, and in this example we'll be using the service of if this then that, so that's IFTTT. And then lastly we'll kind of get it all set up and configured and everything connected. So that's that third step, the if this then that integration with an online form and also with your smart plug. So some type of form and smart plug that's compatible with IFTTT. So yeah, let's this first one. Pretty straightforward, I feel like. Most devices have this type of function. For my Optiplex machine, I'll just show you here. This is the setting in the BIOS. It's going to be different for every machine, obviously, but this is a quick view of what you might see on a given machine. When I boot into the BIOS of my Optiplex server, it's just in the AC recovery section under power management, and it just was a setting that says power on. Once you set this, as soon as you plug in power to the machine, it just boots up right away. So that's what makes this whole thing kind of work. Along with the smart plug, we have a machine, first of all, that will just boot as soon as it has connected to power, and then we essentially just have that connect to a smart plug. As long as you have a smart plug that will provide that level of power needs to your server. Again, different servers will use a different amount of power. This is what really makes it all work. So a device that will automatically power on, or let you set the setting to automatically power on as soon as you plug it into power, and then the smart plug will be what will run it. So that's the first item. Alright, so the second thing you're going to need is a smart plug. So just as an example, we're here on Amazon, and I'm just going to show you what to look for in this example. If we just look for IFTTT smart plug, IFTTT just is a website that we're going to use called if this then that. So we want to look for a smart plug that is specifically compatible with that function. So if we look through these, there are lots that specifically mention IFTT in the description. So you just want to find one that you like. For example, here's one that's from TP-Link. TP-Link Casa is one of the functions, one of the plugs that you can find. Let's see, there's Philips. It says that it's compatible with several services. But yeah, just for this purpose and this example, let's go ahead with this Casa Smart one. So from TP-Link. So it's TP-Link Casa. It specifically says it's IFTTT. Ultimately, you can get any one of these that you want. You might even have one that is already compatible with the if this then that service. So this one, as an example, is just an actual wall plug as opposed to one that plugs into an existing outlet. So once you have one of these, you'll just need to get that configured with your if this then that account. So I'm actually going to jump over into the if this then that page here. This is where on the if this then that page you can pick the services you want to connect into that function. So if this then that is a page that basically means if this, meaning a certain action is happening, then do this other thing. So we're focusing first of all on the then that part. So if we scroll through here, I mean they have lots of integrations, but here's one particular, TP-Link Casa. So when you click on this, it's going to get you linked to that account, and you'll see that it'll then have you log into your Casa account that you'll need to do. So this will be separate. You'll just have to get that integration. You'll set up your account with whether it be TP-Link Casa or back on Amazon, whatever other specific function it is, because it's ultimately in if this then that is just an integration. However you want to do that. There's also Wise here. If you go back to if this then that, there's integrations with Wise specifically. So that's the thing. You just need to find a plug that will work with if this then that. You'll get your account set up for whatever that is, whether it's Casa, Wise, whatever it may be, and have an integration account set up in there with a username and password. And then you will get your if this then that account linked to that with their integrations on the website. So yeah, just if this then that ifttt.com is where you'll go and get your account linked in there. All right, now we're to the third step, which is kind of bringing it all together. So yeah, we should have our device ready and capable of booting up as soon as it has power connected to it. And of course the smart plug that will connect to, that we'll be able to control and share that control with others. And of course that smart plug needs to be compatible with the IFTTT, or again, some other service you might be able to find. So you can see that I already have one set up. I'll kind of walk you through setting that whole thing up to match what I have here. There's a form solution I'm using called JotForm. Ultimately, you can use several other form products that are also compatible with this service, but this is the one that I've gone with. So once we're in our IFTTT service and we go to the create option here, it will let you create two in a free account. So we're going to go to create, and if we say if this, right, so we'll add, and we can search here for form, the word form, and see all the types of forms that are available. Again, JotForm is the one that I went with, just was very simple, but there's several other options here that you can go with. Again, like Google Forms, Typeform. I'm not too familiar with all of these, but there's different options available that are just publicly available websites that you can send a link to anyone, and they can go and basically fill out the form. You can make the form as simple as you want, and as soon as they submit it, it's going to trigger this. So again, I went with JotForm. If you do want to go with JotForm or really any of those other services, you're going to have to go, and I'd recommend going and setting up your account with that service separately. So here's the JotForm website. Very simple. They have a very simple format where you can just create an account, sign up for free, like you can see here, and it will allow you to create a totally free account. So it does have a limitation with how many submissions it will accept in a certain amount of time, but you'll create a form, a free account, and then a form. Just to give you an example, this is the very simple form that I created under my account. It literally is called Plex Started, and only asks them for a single thing, which is their name. Just kind of helpful that way because I can see who it is that's triggering it, and I can send the one link to anyone, and they can just put in their name, just so it's helpful for me to see historically. I can go back to JotForm and see who it is that's turning it on. But yeah, you can make your form as simple as possible. You could even make it like a checkbox or something. However you want to set up your form on JotForm's website, that will, totally work. So you can just set your form up however you want, and simple or as complicated as you want. Maybe you want to have it be a password or something before it'll actually let it go. So this is what I did. It has a form particular. I only have really one form in my JotForm account, so it's not that makes it that part easy. So once we've set that up, we can go back to our create step, and if we go ahead and click JotForm as our triggering function, more or less, we'll go ahead and choose Jotform, and you'll see on our if it now says new submission. So when there's new submission, I did skip ahead a little here, so it will ask you to pick what specific form it is it wants you to trigger it off of, and then that will be the new submission. On Jotform, as an example, you can also have it email you, so that will give you an extra little heads up that someone's turning your server on if you would like. So that's within Jotform, but this is IFTTT's function that's just watching for new submissions of that form. And then we have and then that. So we'll just add, and yeah, lots of different services. As I mentioned already, TP-Link, Casa is there. I believe Wise is here as well. Yeah, there you go, Wise. Any other service that really you have connected with that particular smart plug that you've picked should show up here, as long as you've confirmed that it is compatible with the service IFTTT. And again, you may want to check this out as well before you go ahead and buy that given plug. And again, you'll just need to make sure that you log into that particular service and set up your device so that it's accessible for you to turn on and off from wherever you are, whether you have an app or a website. So you really just pick your given device. Once you click that particular service, it's going to ask you which device, if you have multiple, it is that you want to turn on. And it's really that simple. So that's really the main of it. So there's just a few other things that I'll mention now, which is just kind of a couple little, I guess, cleanup or things to watch out for as you're setting this up, such as handling the device turning off at the end of the day or whatnot. So that would really be the last thing that I'll go over next. Alright, so just a few cleanup items. As you can probably understand and guess, turning your machine on is only half of the issue, right? We need to find a way to carefully shut it down at a good time. The best way that I've found to do this is just with a time-based shutdown. So people will be able to turn it on anytime during the day that they want. And then what I have it set doing is to shut the machine down at 2 a.m. each morning. And then it will then have another integration set up again with if this then that, or possibly even in that given app there might be a way to just have a time-based thing to just turn it off, so you're not using another applet in your limited ifttt.com. So you'll just want to make sure you offset those by a little bit. So what we can do to schedule a shutdown on your machine, we'll come into the Windows Task Scheduler, create a basic task, really name that whatever you want, shutdown, and we're going to have this run daily, every day. Again, you can set this for whatever you feel like it makes the most sense. What I have it set to is 2 a.m. every day, recur every day, and we're going to start a program. The program is really just shutdown.exe, and then the argument is /s, which basically means to shut the machine down. That's pretty much it. If we just go to next, it's daily. We can go ahead and open the properties. We do want to change a couple settings. Ideally, we'll go to finish. And what we're going to do here is just make a couple of changes. So we can say run only when the user's logged on, so that makes sense. And ultimately we're going to have, you can change this to run whether the user's logged on or not. With the highest privileges, that generally works the best to say run with the highest privileges. And then if we go into a couple of these other settings, you can change some conditions. For example, only if the computer is idle. So if by some reason you're using the computer at that time, that won't fire. If you're running on battery power, you can set some of these options. I'd also recommend setting this to stop the task if it runs longer than a long time, because sometimes different scripts or commands like this can run for some time. And again, you can also set these other settings. There's also some options here that says if it fails, run the task as soon as possible after a start is missed. You wouldn't want to do this because if the machine was never started that given day, you don't want it to, as soon as it boots up, to just run it and then it shuts down right away. So yeah, make sure this is cleared, because if it skips or misses a start, that's fine. We don't need to do anything, so make sure these are off. And then again, just make sure you set this to be to stop the task if it runs longer than a certain amount of time. And then we can also say don't start a new instance if one's running. So yeah, there are a couple different options to set in here, and then we'll just go OK. You can really put this wherever you want in whatever folder, but this is just the example when I've kind of walked you through here to shut down. whenever you'd like. And then again, so this is scheduled to run at 2 a.m. every day. You're going to want to have your smart plug turn itself off sometime after this. What I've selected is 4 a.m. every day. So again, you can go through the same process in IFTTT to have a time-based shutdown. So very similar to the function of having a function that will turn your machine on. You can say if this, and we do just a simple date and time, and that be the trigger, right? So you could say every day at a given time, you can turn it off, right? So if we go back, if this, that will be the time, and then the that at that point will still be your smart plug, but instead of turning your smart plug on, you'll just tell it to turn off. Because if your machine is shut down, but your smart plug has never turned off, having someone try to turn it on again is not going to trigger it again. You need to actually have your smart plug turn off, because it's the turning on of your smart plug that will make your computer see that it's lost power and then gain power again, and that's what's going to trigger the boot. So yeah, just those are a few things to just be aware of, and you'll essentially want to make sure you have that turning off and shutting down safely all set. You may even want to set up in your Plex server to have it make sure it runs all of its given maintenance and other options like that at a good time, so that it makes sense. So that's not running when people are in the middle of trying to use it. So just a couple things to be aware of. Again, you can adjust your schedule for automatically turning off and shutting down that the smart plug at a time that makes sense. Or maybe you'll leave it running longer, or maybe you want to just manually turn it off when you decide that no one's using it at any point anymore. But that's essentially it. I hope you liked it. I hope this is helpful for you. If there's anything else that you guys have used this for, that you would like to use it for, or have any questions on how to adapt this to other instances or scenarios other than a Plex server, let me know, and I might be able to give you some tips. All right, have a good one.